Hello everyone. Right, Friday's video. Just wondering if you didn't, if I might have took it out of the Wednesday video. I don't know yet. I haven't edited that yet. My mum's coming over. She'll already be here over when this goes live. So mum's going to be over for a week. So I'm going to have a week off, and hopefully you'll get a video the weekend after she goes back home. I don't know yet, haven't figured that bit out because we couldn't find a fun video to do on Sunday, but I'm thinking we might do the Bean Boozled, more specifically the husband will do it because I can't do it because I've got food allergies. So right, this case, I've not gone in too far in depth on this case because it is, a lot of it is unsubstantiated and a lot of it will probably never be solved. It's the Black Dahlia case, which is the death of Elizabeth Short. She was 22 years old. She was born on the 29th of July 1924, and she died the 15th of January 1947. She was murdered in Los Angeles, California. Her case became highly publicised as her corpse was found cut in half. She was originally from Hyde Park in Boston, Massachusetts, and it's the oldest unsolved case in Los Angeles. Ours is, I think it even predates the Ripper, I don't know. The body was found in a vacant lot in two pieces on the west side of South Norton Avenue, midway between Coliseum Street and West 39th Street in Leimert Park. A local resident by the name of Barry Berzinger discovered the body at around 10 AM. At first she thought it was a mannequin, but then when she realised the body, she went and rang the police. And she also had her daughter with her at the time. It was severely mutilated when it was found. She was completely severed at the waist. Oh, you can't see, can you? Oh, use one of my dolls. She was completely severed at the waist. She had been washed by the killer. Her face had been slashed from the corners of her mouth to her ear, so from here to here, creating what's called a Glasgow smile. Cuts on her thigh and breast where entire portions of flesh away, and her intestines had been tucked neatly between underneath her buttocks. The corpse had been posed with her hands over her head, elbows bent at 90-degree angles, so you're talking like that, and her legs were wide open, so very much the spread eagle sort of manner. A cement crack was found nearby which contained a small amount of watery blood. The autopsy revealed that she was 5'5". She was 52 kilos, which is 115 pounds. She had light blue eyes, blue hair, badly decayed teeth, ligature marks on the hands, wrists and neck. No skull fracture, but she did have bruises on the right and front side of her scalp. She also had a small amount of bleeding on the right side. I think that was on the subarachnoid portion of the brain. So it wasn't actually technically on the brain. I think it was between the brain and the bone. Yeah, it was. It's between, like, there's like the brain, and there's the arachnoid covering, then there's the dewar, then there's the skull. And there was basically a very, very small amount of bleeding between the brain and the subarachnoid. But it wasn't enough to necessarily cause death. The cause of death was determined between the hemorrhaging from the lacerations on her face and the shock from the blows to the face that she'd also received. Now, on January the 23rd, 1947, so this is 8 days after the murder, after the body's been discovered, a person claiming to be Short's killer called the editor of the Los Angeles Examiner, expressed concern that the news of and the coverage of the death had subsided, and offered to mail items belonging to Short to the editor. The following day, a package arrived to the Examiner containing Short's birth certificate, business cards, photos, names written on pieces of paper, an address book with the name of Mark Hansen embossed on the cover. All found to obviously belonging to her. There was also a factor where a company rang Short's mother and said to her, "Your daughter's won a competition," and they said, "Well, she's died." So, and they flew her over and interviewed her because she apparently won this competition, and they just started jumping in on her about the murder, which I think is horrific. No true knowledge of her whereabouts between the 9th of January, which is the day she disappeared, and the 15th of January, which is when her body was found. Over 15 men and women have confessed to be suspects. 25 were only considered to be viable. Some of the others were ruled out and new ones were proposed. Suspects that are remaining include William Bailey, Norman Chandler, Leslie Dillon, Joseph A. Dermes, Mark Henson, Dr. Francis E. Sweeney, George Hill Hodell, Hodell's friend Fred Sexton, George Newtown, Robert M. Red Manley, Patrick S. O'Reilly, and Jack Anderson Wilson. Now, the case has never been solved, and considering its age, which is 70 years, I don't think it will be. It's been too long, and a lot of those suspects are no longer with us. There is just one person who said that his father, who was a detective, was the killer, and then there's another one who said my father's a doctor who's the killer. Very similar to what's happened with Jack the Ripper, and descendants of people that worked in Whitehall at the time of the murders who said, "Oh, I think my granddad did it." I have a book somewhere called My Uncle Jack, and it's about a guy who thinks his Uncle Jack was Jack the Ripper. His Uncle John was Jack the Ripper, because back then Jack and John were used interchangeably, hence why John F. Kennedy was sometimes called Jack Kennedy. So it's weird, but I don't think it's ever going to be solved. The forensics back in those days was relatively in its infancy. DNA was nowhere near being figured out yet. It was another 40 years off, and even when DNA started to become used, it's only just started to get to the point where it can distinguish between certain things. I don't think it's ever going to be solved. There's too little evidence, there's too many suspects, there's too many variables, there's too many issues with the case in general. So I don't think this case is ever going to be solved. If you want me to go into each suspect separately, I will do. But that's a rabbit hole that at the minute, because my brain is quite tired, my body's not really ready for it. So I just thought I would tease you with that, but in my mind it's not going to be solved because there's not enough evidence for anything, and all the people have confessed their confessions have never held any water. So, but it's one of those cases that it's going to permanently be in the public eye. It's going to permanently be in everybody's mind that this poor woman died, and that nobody's ever probably going to find out who did it. So, poor woman. So, with that being said, I'm going to sign off for now. Like I said, you've got a week without me, and then we should be back in just over a week. I need to spend time with Mum while she's over, so I'm sure you can understand that. So, with that being said, stay safe, be good, have fun, and I will see you in a week.